Okay, this is a real quick video on how to get started in InDesign. InDesign looks very similar to Photoshop and Illustrator, but it does have some unique qualities. One of which is how it measures things. And so before we even open up a document, I want to change some things here. We're going to go to Edit and come down here to Preferences and Units and Increments. And what InDesign does natively is it measures things in picas, and that's really for print layout, but it's kind of outside the scope of this class right now. And I think just knowing that that's a unit of measurement, but what we want to do is change this to inches right off the bat. We'll go to inches here, and then stroke, we're already used to points for strokes and for type. So I'm going to hit OK, and now I'm going to go ahead and hit Document. And we're going to make a 2-page spread, so the number of pages is 2. And I'll come back to this. I'm going to leave it this way at the moment. The start page is starting at 1. We're going to change that a little bit, but not right at this moment. Then we have how many columns we want, and I'm going to start off with 5. The gutter is the spacing between columns, and so we're going to leave that there. The margins, we're going to leave a 1/2 inch because that's just a good standard, and we got bleeds and slugs, and so we won't go into that as well. We've talked a little bit about bleeds, I think, before. So I'm going to hit OK, and there's my document. So I'm going to come up here into my my toolbars, and what we can see is we've got 2 pages, but they're not facing each other. So we need to change that. So if I right click on that, and so we can go over here to numbering and section options, and we want to start the page numbering at 2. Now always the even numbered pages are on the left hand side and odd number pages are on the right hand side. So we're going to switch that, and that should automatically bring us up even. Now we don't have a page number 1, but that's okay. Okay, so this looks very similar to Photoshop. We've got some blue lines, but this is really column lines. And what we want to do is we want to kind of lay out our general idea of how our page is going to go. And so we would already need to know how many steps we had, and basically the general gist of how much text we're going to have. Also what our headlines are going to be. So then what we need to do is we can take this little tool, and this is just kind of a placeholder, and we can just kind of play around with this, laying some things out. So I'm going to say maybe this is my headline, and then I'm going to have a bit of text here, and maybe this is going to take up and I can pull regular blue lines. I can say, okay, here's my midway point, or I guess it's 5.5 would be midway. So I could say that my text is going to take up half of that. Then I'm going to also have another little gutter here, and then I'm going to have an image that takes up that much room, and then I'm going to maybe reverse the process, and I'll say that we're going to have a bigger picture that takes up 3 columns, and then another text that will take up 2 columns. So I would lay this all out that way so that I can kind of see my general layout of my page, and then I can start filling things in. Okay, now we do have layers here, and we do have layers just like in Photoshop, and so we can play around with that as well. Okay, now I'm going to put some color in here and start blocking in color, and I can change that. But first off, I'm going to go and select this box here that I've kind of made as a placeholder, and go up here to color. Now I have a variety of things here, and it doesn't, yours may look a little bit differently than mine, but there's a bunch of buttons here that we need to look at. One of them is what color mode are we going to be in. If we're going to be in CMYK, then we're going to get a slider here, and I can click in here in the this little color slider and choose a variety of colors just to start off with, and maybe I'll say with blue. Now if I want this to be lighter, you can see right here that on the left hand side that means that we're not adding any black. We're adding very little yellow and adding no magenta, and then this is the cyan. So if I want a lighter color cyan, I can just change this, drop this down. This is not transparent though, even though it looks to be transparent because you can see the lines. It's not. This is going to be a solid opaque color. So I can modify that, and I'm going to also attach another video on just color and gradients. So I'm not going to go into it too much here, but we're going to say that that's the color I want, and I am going to also go right here and add to my swatches. And so when I go to add to my swatches, if I pull out my swatches palette, you can see that this color is just been added here. So I'm going to pull out my color as well. You can see that's the same color. So I can reuse these colors. Now let's say that I wanted to choose that same color for behind my text here. I can just click on that. Now there's some other things here that you can see that there's a little box with a hole in it. That's the stroke color, and all these are duplicated over here as well. If I click on the stroke and choose a color, and if I want just pure black, then I'm going to have all these all the way to the right. That's going to put a black stroke around here, and this is where my stroke weight is going to be, or my stroke weight is going to be here. And so I can bump that up, and you can see that that gets bigger and bigger, and there's a bunch of different varieties that I can align it, whether it's on the outside of the box or the on the line or on the inside of the box, or that's outside, I'm sorry. So that's inside, and this is on the line itself. So half of the stroke is on the right hand side of the purple line, and half of it's on the left hand side of the purple line. So we could add strokes that way. We can also come back in here and hit none, and then we don't have any stroke. Okay, now to what if we want to look at this and see what it would look like in print, we can go up here to View, and we're going to go to Screen Mode Preview, and now we can see everything without the guidelines. So we go to View, Screen Mode, and Normal. Okay, so let's say that we're going to put some text in here. And so I'm going to, let's say, probably make a new layer. I've already made one here, so I'm going to go up layer 2, and I can lock these just like in Photoshop. So I'm not going to mess with those. We'll go up on layer 2, and then I'm going to draw another box, and with the text tool, just make a text box here. It doesn't have to be exactly the right size at the moment. And then I can type in heading 1. I'll select that and make it a little bit bigger. I'll just use the preset, but I could type in whatever number I wanted to. Now you can see that this has a lot of those character tools that Photoshop had, but they're just all displayed here. So I'm going to go to center it right at the moment. And then I can go to the Move tool, and I can resize that, but really there's really nothing. If you pull it down here, you can see that there's really nothing in that box. I've already created the blue box. Now I can center it where I want to, or I can write a line or what have you. So now I'm going to put some text in here, and I'm going to create a box, because I could just put it right on top of that blue, but I want to maintain the ability to change the blue and to move that box around if I want to. Now I have selected and went to just a bogus type or lorem ipsum site that just gives me basically nonsense just to show that there's text here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, select this paragraph. I'm going to Control C, and I'll bring that out. Okay, now I'm going to come into my text box here and Control V. I'm going to place all my text. Now, let's say that this was a little bit extra small, and I'm not certain that I've got all my text, but if I look right here, there's a little red X. That means that there's some text that is hidden that is not viewed. So we need to increase our box, If that still doesn't do it, now I got rid of the little square or the little X, but if it didn't, then we'd probably have to adjust the font size. And so I would have to go in there, select everything, and change the font down to maybe 11 point. Okay, so we could have just typed straight in here, but we want to make that text box first. Okay, now to put a picture in, I'm going to select this other placeholder, and I wasn't able to select anything. That's because I have everything locked. I could select this, and now I know that this is my my placeholder. Okay, now I'm going to have my layers unlocked, and I'm going to choose this placeholder. And I'm going to go to File and Place. So what we're doing is creating a link between this this placeholder and an original picture. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and I've got some other images here, and I'm going to just click on this, hit Open, and my image is way bigger than what my space is. So I can do a couple different things. Ideally, what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at this space, and then I'm going to come up here and see exactly what size it is. So it's 4.433 and 3.72. And then I'm going to go into Photoshop and I'm going to crop this image so that it fits perfectly. I'm going to show you a little shortcut, but this doesn't always work here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Fitting, and I'm going to fit frame proportionally. So this is not going to whack the proportion out of my picture, but it may not fit properly. So in that case, it did a reasonably good job. Okay, now if I right click and I go back to fitting, and I'll show you what happens here if we fit the frame to the content. So really my picture is much bigger than the frame. So in that first choice, what happened was I really cropped the picture a little bit. But now if I go to fit frame to content, now my frame gets bigger, and that's really not what I want. So I'm going to hit Control Z. I will again show you how to put and actually crop an image in Photoshop in another video. So if I click on this selection, I have the ability to change the mask. Basically it's masking, and if you look really closely, you can see that this rounded off the corners. So I can increase the size of those rounded corners, and I could do that same thing with all of my objects. Now I don't have a nice space here. That's not going to look very good, but we get the idea that you're going to have to do some playing around and some messing around.